The council chamber was cold. Not from temperature, but from fear. Representatives from 200 species sat in their designated seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes under the dim lighting. At the center of the massive circular room, a hologram floated in the air. It showed a region of space marked in deep red, the human exclusion zone. Ambassador Jia stood at the edge of the human observation platform, watching the proceedings from the shadows. She was the only human in the entire station. That was by design. Humanity wanted it that way. The galaxy had learned not to question human choices. It has been 217 years since we last had contact with humanity, the council speaker announced, his voice translator making his words understandable to all present. 217 years since they withdrew behind their borders. 217 years of silence. Jia watched as various representatives shifted in their seats. She knew what they were thinking. The old ones remembered. The young ones had only heard stories, but everyone in this room knew the truth that no one wanted to say out loud. Humanity was dangerous. We sent another scientific expedition 3 weeks ago, the speaker continued. 6 ships. 243 scientists. They carried no weapons. They broadcast peaceful intentions on all frequencies. They only wanted to study the border region. The hologram changed. It now showed 6 small dots approaching the red zone. Jia had seen this recording before. She had watched it a dozen times in her private quarters, preparing for this moment. The dots crossed the boundary. For exactly 7 hours and 42 minutes, the ships continued transmitting normal data. Then, with no warning, all signals stopped. Not a distress call, not a plea for help, just silence. 3 days later, this appeared at the border, the speaker said. The hologram showed a small metallic sphere, drifting in space. It was broadcasting on every known frequency, in every known language, 10,000 different ways to say the same thing. Turn back. Transgressors do not return. This is mercy. The chamber erupted in noise. Clicking, whistling, roaring, and sounds that human ears could barely process. Jia remained still, her face showing nothing. Inside, her heart was racing. She had not known about this expedition. Humanity's military had acted without consulting her. Analysis of the sphere revealed biological material, the speaker announced, waiting for the noise to die down. Genetic samples from every member of the expedition. They were taken, studied, and then... He did not need to finish. Everyone understood. The humans had killed them all. Jia's communicator buzzed silently against her wrist. She glanced down at the message. It was from Admiral Hyunwoo, commander of the Outer Defense Perimeter. 2 words only, they asked. She wanted to throw the device against the wall. Instead, she took a slow breath and continued watching. Far away on the edge of the human exclusion zone, Captain Da-un stood on the bridge of her reconnaissance ship. Her crew worked in efficient silence around her, monitoring thousands of sensors that watched the darkness beyond their borders. Captain, we have movement in Sector 7, her sensor officer reported. Multiple ships, very large signatures. Da-un moved to the display. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Hundreds of ships, no thousands. They were gathering in the darkness just outside the zone. Different designs, different species, all pointing the same direction. Toward humanity. How many? She asked quietly. Current count is 9,412 vessels, the officer replied, still increasing. They are maintaining radio silence, but their formation is clear. This is not a scientific expedition, Captain. No, Da-un agreed. This is an invasion fleet. She turned to her communications officer. Send a priority message to Admiral Hyunwoo. Code Black. Then prepare the beacon. The communications officer's hands shook slightly as he input the commands. Everyone on the bridge knew what Code Black meant. It had never been used before, not once in 200 years. Message sent, Captain. Beacon is ready. Da-un looked at the massive fleet assembling in the darkness. She thought about her family living in the inner colonies. She thought about Earth, the ancient homeworld that most humans had never seen. She thought about everything humanity had built in their isolation. Activate contingency throne, she said. Back in the council chamber, Jia received another message. This one made her stand up straight. The room was still debating what to do about humanity. Some wanted sanctions, some wanted dialogue. A few brave souls even suggested military action. They had no idea what was coming. Jia activated her platform's public address system. Her voice cut through the debate like a knife. "Honored representatives," she said calmly, "I have just received word that a combined fleet of various species is currently assembling outside human space. Their intention appears to be hostile." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to her. "I want you all to understand something," Jia continued. "For 200 years you have wondered what humanity has been doing behind our borders. You have wondered why we withdrew, why we refuse contact, why we guard our space so carefully." She paused, letting her words sink in. "You are about to find out. I suggest you recall your ships immediately, because when they cross our border, humanity will show them exactly why no species dares enter human space." The speaker leaned forward. "Ambassador, are you threatening this council?" Jia smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "No, Speaker. I am not threatening anyone. I am trying to save lives. Those ships? They are already dead. They just do not know it yet." She turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, chaos erupted as representatives shouted and argued. Jia did not look back. She had one job now: get as far from this station as possible before the shooting started. In the human exclusion zone, Admiral Hyunwoo received Da-Yun's message. He was an old man now with gray hair and a face marked by decades of service. He had been a young officer when humanity first withdrew. He remembered the debates, the arguments, the fear that drove them to isolate themselves. Now he commanded the greatest military force ever assembled by any single species. And he was about to use it. "All stations, this is Admiral Hyunwoo," he broadcast on the military command network. "Execute Defense Protocol Omega. Authorization code follows. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on them, because we will not." Across the exclusion zone, millions of weapon systems came online. Stealth satellites adjusted their positions. Automated defense platforms charged their weapons. And deep in the heart of human space, something massive began to wake up. The galaxy had forgotten what humanity was capable of. They had mistaken silence for weakness, isolation for fear. They were about to learn the truth, and the lesson would be written in blood and fire. Part 2 Director Tai Yang stood before the massive observation window, watching as the shipyards continued their endless work. Thousands of robotic arms moved in perfect coordination, assembling war machines that would make any alien species weep with terror. This was just one shipyard. Humanity had 300 of them scattered throughout the exclusion zone. Each one could build a warship in less than a week. They had been building for 2 centuries without stopping. "How many ships do we have ready?" he asked the air. A hologram appeared beside him. It showed the face of a woman who was not quite human anymore. Commander Jae-sung had been augmented so heavily that her body was more machine than flesh. Her eyes glowed with a faint blue light. "The Ghost Fleet is fully operational," she reported. 7,000 stealth ships ready for deployment, all equipped with the latest weaponry. "All invisible to any known sensor technology," Tae Yang nodded. "And the defense grid? Active. 12 million automated platforms are online. Another 8 million are in reserve. The enemy fleet will have to pass through 50 light years of death before they even see a human ship." "Good," Tae Yang said. He turned away from the window. "Prepare the command staff. I want them to understand what we are about to do." An hour later, the senior officers of humanity's military gathered in a secure briefing room deep inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Admiral Hyunwoo was there, his weathered face showing no emotion. Captain Da-eun had returned from her reconnaissance mission. Dr. Soo Jin, the head of human augmentation research, sat quietly in the corner. Tae Yang activated the central display. It showed the alien fleet now numbering over 10,000 ships. "They think we are weak," he began. "They think we ran away and hid because we were afraid. They remember us as we were 300 years ago, soft, peaceful, easy prey." He zoomed in on one of the alien vessels. "They do not know what we became. They do not know what we built. Most importantly, they do not know why we did it." Dr. Soo Jin stood up. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. "May I explain?" Tae Yang gestured for her to proceed. "When humanity first made contact with alien species," Soo Jin said, "we were excited. We thought we would find friends, partners. Instead, we found predators. The galaxy operates on a simple rule. The strong dominate the weak. Humans were classified as a prey species. Weak bodies. No natural weapons, Slow reflexes compared to most aliens. She activated another display. It showed genetic data, scrolling faster than most people could read. So we changed. We took our own evolution into our hands. Modern humans can survive in vacuum for short periods. Our bones are reinforced with carbon lattices. Our muscles are augmented with synthetic fibers. Our brains process information 10 times faster than our ancestors. Captain Daun raised her hand. How much of us is still human? Sujin smiled sadly. Enough, we made sure of that. We did not want to become something else. We wanted to become better versions of ourselves, stronger, faster, smarter, but still human where it matters. Admiral Hyunwoo spoke for the first time. Show them the rest. Sujin nodded and changed the display. Now it showed weapons. Terrible, beautiful weapons. Antimatter warheads. Quantum disruptors. Reality anchors that could prevent faster-than-light travel. Swarm drones that could strip a ship to its frame in minutes. We did not just improve ourselves, she continued. We improved everything. Our ships, our weapons, our tactics. Every year for 200 years we got better. We never stopped. We could not afford to stop. Why? Dahyun asked. Why did we need to become this? Taeyang answered. Because we found records. Ancient databases from civilizations that no longer exist. We learned what happens to species like ours. Species that are too soft, too kind, too trusting. They get conquered, enslaved, destroyed. We had a choice. Change or die. He let that sink in before continuing. We chose to live. And if living meant becoming dangerous, then that is what we became. Commander Jae-sung's hologram flickered. Director, the enemy fleet is beginning to move. They will reach the border in approximately 6 hours. Excellent, Taeyang said. Admiral, deploy the Ghost Fleet. I want them in position but not engaged. Let the aliens enter the outer defense zone. Let them feel safe for a little while. Hyunwoo nodded. And then? Then we show them what humanity has become. Taeyang replied. We show them why no one enters our space. We show them fear. Somewhere else in human space, on a planet that had been converted entirely into a military training facility, soldiers practiced their skills. These were not normal soldiers. Each one had been enhanced, trained from childhood, molded into perfect instruments of war. They could fight in any environment, survive any conditions, kill with efficiency that would horrify their ancestors. But they were still human. They still had families, still laughed at jokes, still dreamed of peace. They just knew that peace required strength, and strength required sacrifice. Back in the command center, Da-un watched the alien fleet approach on the displays. She felt a strange mixture of emotions. Pity for the aliens who did not know what they were facing, pride in what humanity had built, and underneath it all a deep sadness. We did not want this, she said quietly. Admiral Hyunwoo heard her. No, we did not. But the galaxy gave us no choice. They looked at us and saw victims. We had to show them something different. Do you think they will understand? Dahyun asked. After this is over? Will they understand why we did what we did? The old admiral was quiet for a long moment. No. They will only understand that we are dangerous. And that is enough. Fear will keep them away better than any diplomacy. The hours passed quickly. The alien fleet crossed into human space, their formation tight and disciplined. On their bridges, alien commanders felt confident. They had numbers. They had weapons. They had the righteousness of their cause. They had no idea they were already surrounded. The Ghost Fleet hung in the darkness, invisible and patient. Automated weapons platforms tracked every ship, calculating firing solutions. And deep in the heart of human territory, something enormous was powering up. Contingency Throne. It was humanity's final weapon, a mobile fortress the size of a small moon. It had never been used. Never needed to be used. But now, as the alien fleet pushed deeper into human space, its massive engines began to warm up. Coordinator Minho, the artificial intelligence that controlled Throne, ran through millions of calculations per second, every possible outcome, every variable, every way the coming battle could unfold, in every scenario the aliens lost. The only question was how badly. In the command center, Taeyang received confirmation that all systems were ready. He looked around at his officers. These people had dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. They had made terrible choices, built terrible weapons, become something their ancestors might not recognize, but they had kept humanity alive, and that was all that mattered. Begin Operation Reckoning, he ordered. Show them what we built. Show them why they should have stayed away. Throughout human space, weapons came alive. The trap was set, and the aliens were about to walk right into it. Fleetmaster Krillnock stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the viewing screen. The human border was behind them now. They were inside the exclusion zone, and nothing had happened. His four eyes scanned the tactical displays. 10,317 ships under his command, the combined military might of 15 species, the largest invasion force ever assembled in this region of space, and the humans were nowhere to be seen. Perhaps they abandoned their territory, his second-in-command suggested. Perhaps they fled. Krillnox did not believe that. 200 years of isolation, 200 years of warnings. Species did not behave like that unless they had something to hide, or something to protect. Maintain formation, he ordered. Keep all sensors active. The humans are here. We just cannot see them yet, he was right. They just did not know how right he was. 50 light-years away in a hidden command bunker, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the alien fleet move deeper into the trap. Next to him, Colonel Haewon monitored the status of the defense grid. All platforms are ready, she reported. We have targeting solutions on every ship. How many mines are in position? Hyunwoo asked. 17,000 in their immediate vicinity, another 100,000 in the surrounding space. They are completely surrounded. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Commander Jae-sung, status of the Ghost Fleet? The hologram of Commander Jae-sung appeared. We are in position. 7,000 ships within striking distance. They still cannot see us. Major Youngsu, are the drone swarms ready? Another hologram appeared. Major Youngsu was younger than most officers, but his record was exceptional. 10 million drones deployed and waiting for your signal, sir. Hyunwoo looked at the display one more time. The alien fleet was exactly where he wanted them. Deep enough that they could not escape quickly. Surrounded on all sides, completely unaware of their danger. Execute Phase 1, he ordered. Activate the mines. On the bridge of his flagship, Fleetmaster Krillnox was reviewing reports when his sensor officer made a sound of alarm. Sir, multiple contacts. They just appeared out of nowhere. Thousands of them. Krillnox spun toward the tactical display. The empty space around his fleet was suddenly filled with red dots. Thousands upon thousands of them. Mines. Stealth mines that had been hiding in the darkness, waiting. Evasive action, he roared. All ships scatter formation. But it was already too late. The mines detonated in a carefully choreographed sequence. Antimatter explosions lit up space like a second sunrise. Ships that had been there one moment simply ceased to exist the next. Others spun out of control, their hulls breached. Atmosphere venting into space. In less than 5 minutes, the alien fleet lost 2,000 ships. Krillnox gripped his command chair, forcing himself to think through the shock. Reform the fleet. Activate all defensive systems. Find out where those mines came from. His crew worked frantically. The surviving ships pulled together, their shields overlapping, their weapons scanning for threats. They thought the worst was over. They were wrong. Commander Jae-sung gave the signal. The Ghost Fleet dropped their stealth fields and attacked. Human ships materialized inside the alien formation. They were smaller than most alien vessels, sleeker, faster. They moved like predators, striking at weak points with surgical precision. Engines, life support, command centers. Each human ship knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage. The aliens tried to return fire, but the human ships were too fast, too agile. They would appear, strike, and vanish back into stealth before the aliens could respond. It was not a battle. It was a massacre. Where are they? Krillnox shouted at his sensor officer. Where are they coming from? Everywhere, sir. They are everywhere. Then the drone swarms arrived. Millions of small objects, each no bigger than a closed fist. They moved in coordinated patterns, weaving through defensive fire like schools of fish. When they reached the alien ships, they attached themselves to the hulls and detonated. The aliens shot down thousands of them, but there were millions more. And with each wave, the drones learned. They adapted their approach, changed their tactics. The artificial intelligence controlling them studied every defensive measure and found ways around it. Major Youngsu watched from his command ship. The drones were performing perfectly. Better than perfectly. They were learning faster than expected, evolving their tactics in real time. Sir, the AI is requesting permission to implement advanced tactics, his tactical officer reported. Granted, Young-Soo replied. Let it do what it was designed to do. The drones changed their behavior. Instead of attacking randomly, they began focusing on specific ships. They would swarm a vessel from all sides at once, overwhelming its defenses through sheer numbers. Once a ship was disabled, the drones moved to the next target. It was efficient, ruthless, terrifying, but the humans were not done yet. Between attacks, they broadcast messages on all frequencies. The aliens heard recordings of their previous expeditions, the scientists who had disappeared, their final moments captured and analyzed, their genetic information extracted and studied. Then came lists, names of every crew member on every ship, their families, their home addresses, coordinates of their homeworlds. The message was clear. We know everything about you. The psychological impact was devastating. Alien commanders began to panic. Some tried to surrender. Others attempted to flee. But the humans had sealed the border behind them. Faster-than-light travel did not work inside the exclusion zone. The reality anchors prevented it. The aliens were trapped. On his flagship, Krillnox watched as his fleet fell apart. 4,000 ships destroyed. Another 2,000 crippled. The survivors were scattered, disorganized, terrified. And the humans just kept coming, wave after wave of invisible death. We need to retreat, his second-in-command said quietly. To where? Krillnox asked. We cannot jump to faster-than-light. The way back is too far, and the humans are all around us. Then what do we do? Krillnox did not have an answer. For the first time in his long military career, he did not know what to do. They had walked into a trap so perfect, so complete, that there was no escape. Then something changed. The human attacks stopped. The drones pulled back. The ghost fleet disappeared again into stealth. An eerie silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the distress signals of dying ships. Krillnox received an incoming transmission on the command frequency. A human voice speaking in perfect galactic standard. Fleetmaster Krillnox, this is Admiral Hyunwoo of humanity. You wanted to see us. Now you will. Look around you. The space around the alien fleet began to change. Stealth fields dropped. Cloaking devices deactivated. Hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves. And ships, thousands upon thousands of human warships hanging in the darkness like birds of prey. The Ghost Fleet was only a small part of humanity's military. These were the battle fleets, the heavy warships, the vessels designed not for stealth but for raw destructive power. And at the center of it all, something massive began to emerge. It was so large that at first Krillnox thought it was a moon. But moons did not move. Moons did not have engines. Moons did not bristle with weapons. What is that? His sensor officer whispered. The human voice answered as if he had heard the question. That is Contingency Throne, and you are about to learn why no species dares enter human space. Contingency Throne moved through space with impossible grace for something so massive. It was the size of a small moon, yet it accelerated smoothly, its engines barely visible as they bent reality itself to push forward. Inside the central command sphere, Coordinator Minho processed information at a rate that would burn out any organic brain. He was not quite human anymore. Not quite artificial intelligence either. Something in between. A hybrid consciousness that controlled every system on Throne. All systems nominal, he reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. Primary weapon is charging. Estimated time to full power, 2 minutes. Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck, watching through reinforced windows as Throne approached the alien fleet. Behind him, Director Taeyang and Senator Yoonji argued quietly. This is too much, Yoonji was saying. We have already demonstrated our power. Let them go. Let them spread the word. They invaded our space, Taeyang replied coldly. They came here to destroy us. We should end them all. And prove to the galaxy that we are monsters? Yoonji shot back. That we are exactly what they feared? Admiral Hyunwoo raised a hand, silencing them both. We will make our decision after the demonstration. First, they need to understand what they are dealing with. He opened a communication channel. Fleetmaster Krillnox, can you hear me? On his damaged flagship, Krillnox responded immediately. I hear you, Admiral. You came here to see human space, Hyunwoo continued. You wanted to know what we have been doing for 200 years. I am about to show you. What happens next depends entirely on you. What do you want from us? Krillnox asked. His voice was tired, defeated. Watch, Hyunwoo said simply. Learn and then make a choice. He turned to Coordinator Minho.
Fire a warning shot.
Target the empty space on their left flank. Show them what Throne can do. Contingency Throne's primary weapon was not like other weapons. It did not fire missiles or energy beams. It manipulated reality itself. When it fired, space simply ceased to exist in a straight line from the weapon to the target. Matter, energy, everything in that path was deleted from existence. The weapon discharged. For a fraction of a second, there was a line of absolute nothing cutting through space. Then reality rushed back in, and the resulting explosion lit up every sensor for light years around. On the alien ships, every crew member stared in horror. The weapon had not even been aimed at them, and the shockwave had damaged vessels hundreds of kilometers away. That was 1% of full power, Coordinator Minho announced calmly over the communication channel. At full power, this weapon can destroy a planet, or a fleet, or both. Krillnox felt something break inside him, not physically, but mentally. The last hope that his fleet might somehow fight back, somehow survive. It was gone. They were completely, utterly defeated. His remaining ships began to scatter. Some tried to run. Others opened fire in desperate final acts of defiance. The human ships destroyed them with casual efficiency. No anger, no hatred, just cold, professional elimination of threats. Within minutes, the alien fleet stopped fighting. They simply floated in space, waiting for death. But death did not come. Instead, they received another message from Admiral Hyunwoo. Fleetmaster Krillnox, you and your senior commanders will transport to Contingency Throne. You will leave your weapons behind. You will come alone. This is not a request. Krillnox exchanged looks with his bridge crew. They all knew what this meant. The humans were going to execute them, make an example of them. But what choice did they have? I accept, he said quietly. An hour later, Krillnox and 24 other alien commanders stood in a massive hangar bay inside Throne. Human soldiers surrounded them, weapons ready but not aimed. The aliens were shocked by how normal the humans looked. They had expected monsters. Instead, they saw people. Tired, serious people, but still recognizably human. Captain Dayun stepped forward. She had been chosen as their guide. Follow me, she said in Galactic Standard. You wanted to see what humanity has built. We will show you. They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever, past weapons laboratories where scientists worked on devices that made the aliens want to weep, past training facilities where human soldiers practiced combat techniques that looked impossible, past the genetic modification centers where Dr. Sujin's team continued to improve the human form. You classified us as a prey species, Dayun said as they walked. Weak, soft, easy targets. You were right. We were all of those things. So we changed. She stopped at a viewing window. Below them, thousands of humans worked in a massive factory floor, assembling weapons with mechanical precision. Every human you see here has been enhanced, she continued. Stronger bones, better muscles, faster brains. We can survive in environments that would kill most species. We can fight longer, think faster, adapt quicker. Why? One of the alien commanders asked. Why go so far? Dayun turned to look at him. Because when we first entered the galaxy, we found records. Data from civilizations that no longer exist. We learned what happens to peaceful species. What happens to the weak? We had a choice. Become strong enough to survive or accept extinction. They continued the tour. Past the AI war rooms where Coordinator Minho's siblings processed battle data. Past the shipyards that could build a warship in days. Past the armories containing weapons that humanity prayed they would never need to use. Finally, they arrived at a conference room. Admiral Hyunwoo was waiting, along with Director Taeyang and Senator Yoonji. The aliens were directed to seats around a large table. You have seen what we built, Hyunwoo began, but there is something else you need to understand. Everything you saw today, the Ghost Fleet, the mines, the drones, Contingency Throne, those are our defensive weapons. He let that sink in before continuing. We have offensive weapons that we did not use. Weapons that can destroy stars. Weapons that can sterilize planets from orbit. Weapons that can hunt down fleeing ships across the galaxy and eliminate them one by one. Krillnox felt sick. You would use such weapons? If we must, Taeyang answered. If humanity faces extinction, then yes. We would burn down the entire galaxy to ensure some of us survive. That is what you need to understand. We are not evil. We are not cruel. But we will do anything, absolutely anything, to protect our species. Senator Yunji leaned forward. But we do not want to. Everything you have seen today was designed to prevent war, not wage it. We isolated ourselves. We warned everyone to stay away. We gave your expedition mercy by sending them back as a message. We have tried everything to avoid this moment. And yet you came anyway, Yunwu said. You brought 10,000 ships. You came to conquer us, to punish us, to put us in our place. And now you know, you cannot. The room was silent. Then Krillnox spoke. What happens to us now? Hyunwoo looked at his fellow leaders. Taeyang wanted to kill them. Yunji wanted to release them. The decision was his to make. You will return to your fleets, he said finally. We will repair your ships enough to reach the border. Then you will leave. You will go back to the Galactic Council, and you will tell them everything you saw here. You are letting us go? Krillnox could not believe it. Yes. Because the galaxy needs to know. They need to understand that human space is forbidden, not because we are hiding, but because we are protecting them, from us, from what we have become. Go home, tell them, and never ever come back. 2 days later, the surviving alien ships limped toward the border. Behind them, Contingency Throne watched silently, its weapons still charged, still ready. The message was clear. They were being allowed to leave. But that mercy could be revoked at any moment. As the aliens crossed back into open space, their faster-than-light drives came back online. They jumped away, carrying with them the truth about humanity. The prey species had become the apex predator, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the failed invasion. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. But today was different. Today, the Council was not meeting at their usual station. They were meeting aboard Contingency Throne. Ambassador Jia stood at the entrance to the massive conference hall that humans had prepared. She watched as hundreds of alien diplomats filed in, their eyes wide with fear and wonder. They were surrounded by human military might. Every step they took was a reminder that they were here by human permission. That was the point. The council speaker called the session to order. His voice was not as confident as it had been 6 months ago. This emergency summit has been called to address the relationship between humanity and the galactic community. We have heard the reports from the survivors. We have seen the evidence. And now we must decide how to proceed. A representative from one of the warrior species stood up. His species was known for their aggression, their military power. But even he looked nervous. The humans have violated every principle of galactic law. They attacked a peace mission. They destroyed thousands of ships. They must be held accountable. Admiral Hyunwoo rose from his seat. He did not need to raise his voice. Everyone in the room went silent when he stood. That was not a peace mission, he said calmly. That was an invasion force. 10,000 warships does not constitute a peaceful visit. You came to our space to destroy us. We defended ourselves. That is not a violation of galactic law. That is survival. The warrior representative tried to argue. You could have negotiated. You could have. We tried, Jia interrupted, stepping forward. For 200 years we tried. We isolated ourselves. We posted warnings. We sent back every expedition with clear messages to stay away. But you did not listen. You ignored every warning. You decided we were a problem that needed to be solved. So we solved you instead. The speaker raised his hands for calm. Let us set aside blame for now. The question before us is simple. What happens next? Will humanity remain isolated? Will there be war? Or can we find another path? Director Taeyang stood. Jia had argued with him for weeks about this moment. He wanted to keep humanity completely separate. But she had finally convinced him that isolation was no longer possible. The galaxy knew about them now. Better to shape what came next than to let it happen randomly. Humanity has no interest in conquering the galaxy, Taeyang announced. We do not want your territory. We do not want your resources. We do not even want your trade. We want to be left alone, he paused, looking around the room. But we have discovered something that concerns us all. Information that we found during our isolation. There are threats in this galaxy far worse than any conflict between our species. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed deep space beyond the mapped regions of the galaxy. Strange structures. Ancient machines. Things that should not exist. These are automated defense systems, Jia explained. built by a civilization that existed millions of years ago. They were designed to purge the galaxy of advanced life every 50,000 years. According to our analysis, the next purge is due to begin within a century. The chamber erupted in noise, shouting, denials, demands for proof. The speaker struggled to restore order. "We have proof," Hyunwoo said quietly. His voice cut through the chaos. "We have been monitoring these structures for decades. They are activating, powering up, preparing. We estimate that in 70 to 90 years they will begin their work." "Why should we believe you?" someone shouted. "This could be another human trick." Jia smiled without humor. "If we wanted to trick you, we would not need to. We just demonstrated that we can destroy your fleets with ease. Why would we bother with lies?" Senator Yoonji stepped forward. She had been quiet until now, letting the others make the aggressive points. Now it was time for diplomacy. "We are offering a deal," she said. "Human space will remain sovereign. No ships will be allowed to enter without permission. No probes, no expeditions. The border stays closed. In exchange, humanity will share defensive technology with the galactic community, not weapons. We will not arm you, but shields, sensors, defense platforms, things that will help you survive what is coming." "And if these ancient machines attack?" the speaker asked. "Then humanity will help defend the galaxy," Hyunwoo answered. "Not because we want to. Not because we care about your politics or your alliances, but because if the galaxy falls, we fall with it. We built our military to protect ourselves, but we will use it to protect everyone if necessary." The debate continued for hours. Some species wanted to reject the offer. Pride demanded it. Others were practical enough to see the value. Eventually, after much arguing, a vote was called. The treaty passed. Barely, but it passed. Human space would remain the Terran protectorate. Isolated, forbidden, but no longer hidden. In exchange, humanity would provide defensive technology and military assistance against existential threats. As the alien diplomats departed, Jia felt exhausted. She had spent months preparing for this moment. Now it was done. Humanity had a place in the galaxy again, not as friends, not as partners, but as protectors, distant, powerful, feared protectors. Captain Dayun found her standing alone on an observation deck. "Ambassador, are you all right?" Jia turned. "I am not sure. We just agreed to become the galaxy's guardians. Whether they want us or not, is that so bad?" "I do not know," Jia admitted. 200 years ago, we isolated ourselves to stay human, to avoid becoming monsters. But look at what we built. Look at what we became. Did we succeed? Or did we just create a different kind of monster?" Dayun thought about that. "We are dangerous. That is true. But we are also protective. We could have destroyed that alien fleet completely. We did not. We could have conquered the galaxy. We did not. We became strong enough to survive, strong enough to protect. That does not make us monsters. That makes us survivors." Meanwhile, on the edge of human space, long-range sensors detected something. Strange signals from deep space. The ancient machines were waking up faster than predicted. Whatever was coming, it was coming soon. Colonel Hae-won reviewed the data and immediately sent it to Admiral Hyunwoo. The message was simple but concerning. "They know we are here. The machines are responding to us." Hyunwoo read the report in his quarters aboard Contingency Throne. He was old now, tired. He had spent his entire adult life preparing for war. And now it seemed that war was inevitable anyway. But there was a difference now. Humanity was not alone anymore. They had allies. Reluctant allies, perhaps. Afraid allies, certainly. But allies nonetheless. He walked to the observation deck where Commander Jae-sung was already waiting. She had become even more machine than human. Her body almost entirely replaced with advanced technology, but her mind was still sharp. Still human where it mattered. "Did you see the report?" he asked. She nodded. "The ancient machines are activating ahead of schedule. Whatever triggered them, it was probably us. Our expansion. Our weapons. We got their attention. Do you think we can win?" Jae-sung was quiet for a moment. "I do not know. But I know this. We spent 200 years preparing to defend ourselves against the galaxy. Now we might have to defend the galaxy against something worse. It is ironic." "Life is often ironic," Hyunwoo agreed. He looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient machines were waking up, preparing to cleanse the galaxy. preparing to eliminate all advanced life, but they did not know about humanity. They did not know what humans had become. They were about to learn the same lesson the galaxy had learned: never underestimate the prey species. In her office, Gia finished her final report to human leadership. The treaty was signed. The alliance was formed. Humanity had a new role in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as friends, but as the species that stood between civilization and chaos. She ended her report with a simple statement: "We isolated ourselves to become strong enough to survive alone. Now we are strong enough to protect everyone, whether we want to or not, whether they want us to or not. The Terran Protectorate is ready." Far beyond the edge of mapped space, in the darkness between galaxies, ancient machines continued to power up. Machines built by a long-dead civilization. Machines designed to prevent any species from becoming too advanced, too dangerous, too much of a threat. But those ancient builders had made one critical mistake. They had never encountered a species like humanity, a species that responded to threat not with submission, but with transformation. A species that could look at extinction and say, "Not today." The machines were coming. The galaxy was afraid, but humanity was ready. They had spent 2 centuries preparing for war. And now, finally, they would get to use everything they had built, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to protect, to defend, to survive. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the observation deck looking at the stars and spoke quietly to himself, words that would become humanity's unofficial motto in the centuries to come. Let them come. We will be ready. We are always ready. The end.